Welcome back. After a not very good puzzle session on chess.com in a previous video, which I just finished, I'm now going to try to do some mates-in-ones on Lichess just to make myself feel better. It looks like it's down there. Okay, that was a mate-in-one. All right. If you don't do puzzles on lichess.org, on this one there isn't a next button. There's just a thumbs up here under the success and a thumbs down. I don't know what the thumbs down button does. I can't remember, but the thumbs up takes you to the next puzzle. So it seems like you're upvoting this puzzle, but you're actually getting to the next one. I don't know if it actually upvotes the puzzle or not. But anyway, let's just go. I am playing with the white pieces and I have a mate-in-one. It's the knight move, isn't it? Because the bishop cuts off those squares, the rook's protected by the pawn. All right. And here, that's not a mate-in-one, even though the bishop guards that, because the king could just move over. But that's a mate-in-one with the bishop, I think. Is that cropped right? I guess I should have checked that before I started. Playing with the black pieces. Okay. I think that's a mate-in-one. It was. All right. Well, hopefully I don't fail any of these. That's one reason I'm taking a little bit of extra time on them. This one looks like I have a mate-in-one right there protected by my dark squared bishop. I'm getting a little better at seeing the distant bishops. I don't think they have anything else guarding that square. Okay, that was a mate-in-one. They've just taken my rook, but it looks, no, I do not. Yes, I do have a mate-in-one there. At first I thought the knight could take, but that knight is pinned. Nothing else is guarding that square. I'm playing with the black pieces. That makes sense. Is it a knight move again? Let's see. Their king. No, it's not a knight move. I think it's a pawn move because right now my rook's cutting off those squares. This e-pawn's cutting off those and my knight's cutting off that one. If I move the knight, the king has this square to go to. But I think that's mate. Oh, wow. Mate with a pawn. Those are always fun. I think I've only actually done that in games once or twice. I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times. Over hundreds, maybe a few thousand games. Black pieces, right? That's checkmate. Pretty sure. Is it a knight move again? No. King can get out right there. What about this knight move? Because my light squared bishop's cutting those squares off, and my knight over here to h3 would cut those 2 squares off. I think that's mate. Mate with a knight and a bishop, but helped out by 2 of their pieces. Okay, next. Oh wow, we don't have very many pieces left, but I have a mate somewhere. Well, right now my knight is preventing the king from moving to those 2 squares. My king's preventing it from moving to this square. So I need to keep those pieces where they are. Would this just be mate then? Moving my bishop to c2? Think that's mate. All right. Well, I've solved several mates in just a few minutes here, so I feel better about myself. But the main reason here is, of course, I need the practice. Where can I check? Because right now the king can't move. My queen's cutting off all of these, and my queen's cutting off that, and their own pieces are in the way. Let's see, can I check? I think it's a pawn again. If I check with the rook, they can block. And there might be a mate, but it's not in one. But is that mate? Because their king can't move, and nothing can take on that square. My queen is protecting that pawn. Wow, we had a couple of pawn mates here. And that one was rated fairly high. I know the Lichess ratings on puzzles are slightly different than the chess.com ratings, but they seem to be much closer to each other than like your rapid rating on both sites. Everybody complains about how different the chess ratings are on the 2 sites. On chess.com I'm 1200, but I'm 1600 on Lichess or whatever. But the puzzle ratings seem pretty close to me. Next. Nothing's guarding that rook. But what if I could protect that rook and check at the same time? And my other knight's guarding that square. All right. I mean, I need to be better at these, right? Is this another knight one? I don't think it is. No, because if I check with the knight, the king can... I think I need my knight to guard that square because the pawn guards these 2, so this should be mate with the rook. Okay. Wow. I need to definitely get better at visualizing which squares are cut off to the king. Like my light squared bishop is hitting that square, and then my rook's cutting off those. My queen's cutting off this. Wait, can I just slide my queen in from behind? And that will take care of these squares and these squares. And my bishop's still hitting that one. Okay, good. I think I have a mate with the knight here on G3. That's got to be it, because the pawn's guarding that, and the other knight is guarding the pawn. Next. Oh, wow, this one's painful. It's just the pawn. That poor king. And also, why? Whoever's in charge of that team needs to take that bishop out behind the woodshed. I don't know what that means. What are they going to do behind the woodshed? Seems sus. I'm looking at this bishop. Is that right? The rook cuts off all of these, and the knight's hitting those two squares and nothing. Yeah, I think it's the bishop. Oh, good. Okay, because we almost always, at least I almost always checkmate with a queen and a rook, or the queen protected by another piece, or two rooks. So it's always, what? It says reconnecting. Did that show up on your screen? Mine says it's reconnecting. Does that mean if I click next, it won't go to the next puzzle? Oh, no. Well, that's frustrating. I'm going to click it anyway and see what happens. Oh, I got a puzzle. Oh, and the reconnecting thing disappeared. My computer says I was online the whole time, so I'm pretty sure that's a Lichess problem. This is, let's see, my pawns are taking care of all those squares. My knight is taking care of that square where I think I want to move my rook. Wait, no. Oh, yeah. My bishop's taking care of those squares too. Wait, no, there are rooks there. That's not a mate. The rook's protected where it is, and it's cutting off these, and the pawns are cutting off those. Is there a way I can check them without moving those pieces? What about this? No, because then they can get out that way. What about this? No, because then they can get out this way. Oh, it's another knight one. I bet it's the knight to e7. I hope that's right, because I'm pretty sure the king has no legal moves. None of their pieces can get that knight over there, and my rook is safe, as previously discussed. Wow, that was nice. Okay. And I'm under 10 minutes. Nice. And I don't know how many puzzles that is. In the past, whenever I've hit about 10 or 15, I've switched to mates and twos, but I needed a little bit of a pick-me-up, and of course, it never hurts to practice these, so I'm just going to keep going for a few more minutes. I am waiting on the school bus to come drop off my kids, or one of my kids, and then a different bus to drop off the other kid, so I have just a little bit of time here. Playing with the black pieces, I think I have a checkmate on G2 because of my rook back here, which I sometimes don't see. Okay. Let's see. If there was a safe way to check them right now, it would be mate, because my knights are cutting off those two squares. Actually, this knight alone is cutting off those two squares. So if I were to check, say, over here on H2 with my other knight, their king can't move, and that would be mate. Wouldn't it? After getting that many correct in a row, I start to doubt myself. And that's always good, I guess. Ooh, that's not a mate because the king can move. Wait, oh, that's a mate because the king can't move. Almost didn't see that. That's two rooks. That should be pretty easy. Same thing here. Is it not? No, they can block that. Oh, but they can't block this. And the pawn's cutting off that getaway square. Well, I guess I needed some help with the ladder mates too. Never hurts to practice. That's my thing. I'm playing with the black pieces. My king's cutting off these. My bishop's cutting off those. So I think I would have checkmate with the dark squared bishop to G3, hitting those two. And they cannot block that, I don't think. This is another case where the distant rook isn't the answer because they can block, but the near rook is the answer. Of course, my pawns cut off those squares. Sometimes you don't want to check with the closer rook because, of course, the king can move closer to it, but in this case, it could not. I hesitated on this one for just a second because I thought, is it this knight move? But of course it's not, because the king can get out of the way. I was seeing the pin, but what I should have been seeing was that my knight is guarding that square. That's just checkmate with the queen on G2. I wasn't as tired as I thought. I am seeing these. This is the same thing. The knight is protecting that square. None of the enemies, the opponent's pieces, are protecting that square. Wait, I got that right, but I didn't get any points for it. Oh, how nice. That must have been too easy. I'm trying to get out of the habit of saying enemy. I used to say that all the time, but it's opponent. They're not my enemy. They're just a person sitting across the board from me. In this case, oh, sneaky. It's the bishop, isn't it? Yeah, because the knight, where it is hitting that square, and my queen is covering the other one. Wait. Oh, yeah, and the queen is covering G8 as well. My queen was hitting both of those, and the knight guarding this one. Okay. Yeah, the one before that, I just got a check mark. That's a little... What? Give me a point at least. By the way, on Lichess, you actually do get points to your actual puzzle rating by solving these mates-in-ones. On chess.com, if you pick any theme, mate-in-one, passed pawns, I don't know what the other themes are, vulnerable king or stuff like that, you don't get any points. The only way you get points on your actual puzzle rating is to play just the regular random puzzles. So that is one advantage of Lichess, because you should get at least a few points for these, like 1 or 2. I'm surprised I got 5 and 6 for a couple of those. Queen to f8 because my dark squared bishop is guarding that. It's not h7 because their rook, of course, would take there. So I think it's down here. Yes. And I'm still under 15 minutes. I'm averaging less than a minute, which should be the case for these. I think I don't have a mate in the corner because of their knight. Well, yep, their knight is pinned by my rook. So it is mate in the corner. Pretty sure it was. Yeah, I had to see that pin in just a couple of seconds. All right. Is this knight to b6? Because that would hit that square and that one. My king's covering those two. My pawn's protecting there. My pawn's protecting there and there. Wow. I liked that one. That was sneaky. I probably would not have found that in a game. That's why I need to look for these. Especially when the king's out in the middle surrounded by pawns like that. Those pawns cut off a lot of squares. Here my bishop's cutting that. My king hits those two. So I think the rook down here is mate. It is. If you hear a slight roar in the background, that is our air conditioner kicking on. Despite us having a little bit of a break from the heat there in early to mid-September, we had about a week where we didn't hit 100. We're on our way back up to 100 now. What can I do here? Okay, this one's throwing me a little bit because the king can take there. Pawn can take here. But this pawn can't take. Okay, because that pawn is pinned. Okay, so it's queen to g4. Got to see those pins. Oh, and this one, the knight's guarding that square. Queen to f4. I'm trying to get better at saying the names of the squares because the squares have names, and it's a much better than saying over there or down here. In this case, my rook cut off that file. And now, of course, my queen's cutting off these squares protected by the knight. The king has just moved out of check. That's not mate because the king could get out here. Wait, is that mate? No, because the pawn would take. Wait, no. That's double check. The pawn can't take because the bishop is also checking. I bet that's it. Ah, wow. Yeah, I don't think I've ever in a real game gotten a mate with a double check like that. Going to a vulnerable square, but they can't take because it's still check from the bishop. I will do 2 more just to complete. You see how my top row is just 2 squares shy here, so I'm going to do 2 more, and then I'll be done. I felt like I got a little bit of good practice in today. This one is a little tricky. I do see that my rook is cutting off all of this. What if my knight went to h6? Because that cuts off those squares, and that square is safe. Is that mate? Nice. They're about ready for discovered check here, but I have a mate first. Is it another one of those discovered checks? It's another double check. I bet that's it. Let's see. My bishop guards that. They won't be able to take the rook with the pawn, either pawn or the knight, because it's also check from the queen, and the king can't take the rook to move out of check because it's protected by the bishop. Oh, wow. That one was tricky, and I'm glad that was my last one. Oh, it's already started a new row there, but I've definitely filled up 2 rows there with a bunch of puzzles. Since there are so many and these are fairly simple mates-in-ones, I'm not going to link to all these puzzles in the description like I normally do, just because that would be a lot of trouble. And you could always go to Lichess, go to your puzzles dashboard, which you get to by hovering over the puzzles menu at the top, click on puzzles dashboard, and then over at the left, there are puzzle themes. And when you click on that, you get to a page that looks something like this. And you just scroll down until you get to mate-in-one. And it'll just start a puzzle for you, and you just keep going. That was my palette cleanser after not doing very well in my other puzzle video. Thank you for spending your time here, as always. We'll see you next time.